Which conspiracy theory is so believable that it might be true? Everyone should learn to code is a movement to flood the market with software engineers so that salaries can be reduced. That's also why they're dropping software engineer as a title for the lesser title of coder. The ballistic missile threat that was sent to Hawaiian cell phones saying, "Seek shelter, this is not a drill," that was later deemed a mistake, was a real missile that was intercepted before impact. That there are hundreds of companies that operate tens of thousands of Reddit accounts each. They have been auto-rigging these accounts for years, use scripts to auto-post and comment, and have humans that shift through all the accounts to make various comments to maintain these accounts. These companies have the ability to control and game their way to the front of Reddit. Huge brands use them, special interest groups use them, political parties use them. It's not a conspiracy, it's a real thing. That big bread paid toaster manufacturers to put in a setting that is too high so that people would burn their toast, meaning that they sell more bread. I always hear the advice that in order to stop being heckled by Scientologists, just ask where Shelley went or ask about the circumstances of her disappearance. It usually shuts them up. The recommended food pyramid is created by the FDA, but the FDA is funded by a lot of certain food industries, poultry, dairy, etc. They in turn make the recommended nutrition based off of their funding by these companies, and not based on a well-balanced diet. Mattress firms aren't only holding mattresses, buddy. Money laundering. Link will be in description. Have fun down the rabbit hole. That the CIA post this question every time so they know what the general public suspect. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory at this point, but a lot of people still don't acknowledge that your internet searches and social media profiles area absolutely being used as training models by major IT companies. I was a drunk college student and had access to them to run AI training. If you still think you are off the grid, you're an idiot. Being frank, it's not a big deal if you don't have dark shit to hide. Those people are too busy building the new technological world to give a shit that you look at midget porn. But don't delude yourself to think people don't have access to anything you do on the internet. I don't have time to type it all out right now, but the entire situation surrounding the construction and operation of DI-8, Denver International Airport, is strange, even by non-conspiracist standards. Have fun in the rabbit hole. Darth Jar Jar was 100% planned and hinted at in TPM, but the sheer amount of hatred for the character made Lucas back down. I actually wish he went through with the original vision. Apple started the meme about AirPods being expensive as a marketing ploy. All rocks are soft until you go to touch them. Women's pants pockets are significantly smaller than men's pants pockets to encourage us to buy handbags and purses. Dyson purposefully made the cable shorter over time just before announcing the cordless version. My DC01 has a 12 ohm flex, my DC14 has a 6.5 ohm flex. They purposefully made the flex shorter to be an inconvenience and make people want the cordless version. Miley Cyrus's crazy streak was all a carefully planned marketing scheme to get her solidified as an A-list celebrity. The earphone's microphone is constantly hot and it's listening for keywords to target advertising. Most glaring instance where this happened to me was when I walked into a colleague's office. He had just gotten a standing desk, but one that goes on top of his existing desk rather than a standalone, pun. Model. That's important to note. I said, "Nice standing desk. When did you get that?" "Thanks. Just today." He replied. That was literally all that was said about the desk. We talked about work-related stuff, and as I walked out and checked my phone, there was an ad on Facebook for that exact model of standing desk. I have never owned one, wanted one, or Googled one before. Yet there it was on my feed. Tinfoil hat be damned. They listen in. The idea that genetics services like 23andMe may be selling records to the government and/or insurance companies. There have been cases of criminals being caught with genetic information like this citation needed, so it's not much of a stretch that other agencies could acquire it as well. YouTube and a mobile browser is so shitty so they can force you to use the app and not use an ad blocker. Memes about the NSA and other spy programs are encouraged by the very agencies spying on us, to twist the idea into the absurd and to humanize their agents. The rich orchestrated the recession back in 2008 to take advantage of the market. Snapchat worked with the FBI to popularize, and secretly test and improve, face recognition technology. We went from, wow, this is like magic, to this is totally normal in a few years, and there's no way that the technology isn't being by law enforcement. The Reddit search function is intentionally bad, or not purposely bad, but they know how to fix it but refuse to encourage more new posts. The president of the Philippines, Duterte, is very anti-drugs to hide his own involvements with drug cartels off which he makes billions. Cops go on ways and leave random police sightings to cause people to slip without actually having to stay and check on people. Full credit to the next village. For this one, the arms on Tyrannosaurus rex skeletons are backwards. They ought to be rotated 180 degrees. What good are these stubby little arms for? We have found out relatively recently that T-Rex have feathers. It is now an established fact, T-Rex were not covered in scales but in feathers, like a bird. Take the arms on a T-Rex and flip them around 180 degrees. Now you have wings like an ostrich. Here is an illustration of an ostrich skeleton. See the small arms. Wings. Now look at a Tyrannosaurus. We used to think of almost all dinosaurs as lizard-like, in fact the name means terrible lizard. Now we know that many different animals that we think of as dinosaurs are more bird-like than lizard-like. XKCD comic below illustrates this nicely. XKCD comic will be in description. Fun read. Tyrannosaurus rex had wings. Not big wings to fly with, but wings that were perhaps something like that of an ostrich, cassowary, or emu, although likely much smaller in proportion to their body. Ostriches use their wings in mating rituals, to make themselves appear larger, and to signal and communicate. Perhaps T-Rex used theirs for some similar purpose. They did not have useless stubby little arms. Multiple football World Cups have been influenced either by governments hosting them, or other entities out for their own gain. 2002 South Korea/Japan and 1978 and Argentina are the two most obvious ones that come to mind. The value of expensive art is just as a pseudo-currency for rich people to subtly buy drugs or other illicit things. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. I would never trust the CIA, definitely not 60s CIA. There's a conspiracy theory that Flight 93 was shot down by hastily scrambled jet fighters and or missiles, in the interest of public safety, and that the government made up the relatively wholesome the passengers decided to fight the hijackers and sacrifice themselves story to keep up morale. I don't know whether it happened or not, but I can entirely believe it might be true. I've always found it very plausible that Hitler didn't kill himself in the bunker, and instead fled to South America. Let's look at what we know about his death. Given the fanatical devotion the Nazis has to Hitler, it is extremely possible that they would have been willing to shoot and burn body doubles, and alter the dental records of the corpses to match Hitler and his wife. Meanwhile, Hitler would have been evacuated to a country where he could lay low and take on a new identity. My guess would be Argentina, who fostered multiple high-ranking Nazi officials. I'm not saying he couldn't have also just shot himself in the bunker, but the whole thing always felt fishy. The phantom cosmonaut conspiracy. Pretty much. The short story is that Yuri Gagarin is not the first man to go to space but the first one to go and come back alive. It just seems like a USSR thing to do. My conspiracy theory. Facebook purposely attempts to ruin people's relationships because the drama gets more views and more views sell more ads. Several years ago they introduced a feature so that your comments on other pages would show up in your friends' feeds. So if you're secretly an atheist and you comment on some atheist page, it shows up in your devout Southern Baptist grandma Muriel's timeline, even though it's a conversation that has nothing to do with her and there's no reason for it to be. As a result, Facebook outs you to your family, and grandma is typing away at all the evil Satanists trying to corrupt her grandson. And if you comment on a public post, it's unavoidable. You used to be able to control who could see your comments even on public posts by other pages, but at the same time Facebook introduced their tattletale feature, they took that ability away. Now if they were to stumble across the same page they'd be able to see your comment, but after that change, Facebook started pointing everybody you know directly to it. Not to mention, the privacy settings are difficult to find, difficult to understand, and with each passing year gives you less and less control over who sees what. By forcibly combining everybody's social circles, Facebook is trying to generate conflict. They want to generate conflict because the conflict happens on Facebook, which means people logging on to Facebook more often and seeing more ads. They're essentially an internet tabloid except instead of showcasing the personal drama of celebrities for clicks and sales, they're doing it to you instead. Ever notice how the vast majority of family drama, relationship fights, etc. these days happens on Facebook? That's by design. Facebook is literally destroying the social fabric to make a buck. Consuming relationship stability like it's an oil refinery consuming crude. The development of the F-35 fighter jet is so over budget so the military can fund other top secret projects without making a new line item on the budget. It's the only conspiracy theory I believe. The oil and coal industries invested heavily in killing off nuclear power as an attractive alternative. These days we have reactor designs many times safer than other methods of generating power, and the waste issue is something that could be fixed with sufficient investment. Some organization/group of people wanted all the Kennedys dead for some reason. Edit. The term conspiracy theory and its poor connotation was created by the US government specifically for skeptics of the official JFK assassination story. Just felt I should put that out there. Robert Kardashian destroyed evidence that would have convicted O.J. He was handed a Louis Vuitton garment bag by O.J.'s assistant right as O.J. returned from Chicago. None of the cops paid any attention to him as he walked away with the bag. When the bag theory was discovered a month later, Kardashian claimed to have lost it. I have long argued to friends and family that Barack Obama may have been a CIA operative sometime in between college and being a community organizer in Chicago. Bear with me. After graduating from Columbia in 1983, Obama went to work for a company called Business International Corporation, a company that is known to have been used as a CIA front in the past. There is little information available about this time in Obama-era trademark S life. The CIA was actively recruiting at that point in history and would have been very interested in a young black man with an Ivy League education and ties to Indonesia and Africa. The information would most likely still be classified, but it could also have helped his rapid accession in politics at such a young age. After nursing the theory for a while, I finally Googled it and, sure enough, loads of websites tout similar theories. Some of it convincing. Not the stuff about him being a CIA chrononaut who fought Russians on the moon. That angle is less convincing. Lyme disease as we know it today was created by scientists on Plum Island, off the Long Island coast, in a secret government laboratory devoted to germ warfare. And the government continues to cover up, deny, and avoiding confronting how widespread it is. While the disease has been around a long time, many people believe the reason it is so widespread as it is because of these experiments. This might be in here already, but the push for $15 minimum wage was created and supported by the companies that would most negatively be affected: fast food, McDonald's, shipping, Amazon warehouse workers, etc., to drum up negative public perception of these workers as entitled. Why should they get $15 per hour flipping burgers when I'm making $25 per hour doing insert considerably harder job and these jobs aren't for supporting a family? Then, when they inevitably ask for too much, as they were secretly supported to do, make the switch to automation in virtually all these jobs. Public perception will be behind the corporations standing up to the entitled losers and make the transition easier on the companies annoying as AI that take at least 2 to 3 years of true public use to perfect. No one will feel bad, and now those low-skilled workers will be out of a job with virtually no mobility. Like, comment, subscribe, share, download, embed, save, dab, yeet. Have a great day, fam.